We urge the U.S. to stop using the so-called China threat as an excuse to pursue its own interests.
China has lashed out at Donald Trump once again as his threats to annex Greenland escalate, turning an Arctic dispute into a global diplomatic fight. Beijing accused Trump of using China as a pretext to pursue his own ambitions in Greenland, arguing Washington is manufacturing a China threat narrative. China's government called on the US president to stop using the so-called China threat against Greenland as an excuse, insisting Beijing poses no such danger.
China has made clear its position on Greenland on many occasions. International law, based on the purposes and principles of the United Nations Charter, is a foundation of the current international order and must be upheld. We urge the U.S. to stop using the so-called China threat as an excuse to pursue its own interests.
China's latest takedown comes after Trump issued a fresh tariff threat against European Union nations, widening the confrontation beyond Greenland itself. Trump threatened to slap 10% tariffs on European allies that side with Denmark and Greenland, using trade pressure to force political compliance. He also claimed the tariffs could rise to 25% if a deal for the total purchase of Greenland is not completed, escalating the ultimatum. Trump repeated his claim that Russia and China must be stopped from taking Greenland, portraying annexation as a defensive necessity rather than expansionism. He has repeatedly insisted Greenland needs US protection from Russia and China, framing the island as an exposed frontier in great power rivalry. European nations have responded by deploying troops to Greenland as a show of solidarity, signaling they will defend Danish sovereignty and NATO unity. However, after Trump's tariff threat, Germany reportedly moved quickly to remove its troops from Greenland, suggesting economic pressure may be influencing decisions. European leaders from France to the United Kingdom have publicly fumed against Trump's tariff threat, warning it could trigger a damaging trade confrontation. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has become the latest EU leader to condemn Trump's Greenland pressure, describing it as unacceptable coercion of allies. While saying the EU does not want escalation, Merz argued the US economy would also face serious consequences if tariffs ignite a broader retaliatory cycle. Merz warned Trump that if tariffs are imposed, the EU will not hesitate to respond, signaling that Europe is prepared to hit back with its own measures.
Tariffs benefit no one and harm almost everyone. American consumers are now noticing the effects of tariffs. The American economy is not performing as well as the American government had anticipated a year ago. In my opinion, this also has something to do with tariff policy. We do not want this escalation. We do not want a trade dispute with the United States of America. We will also have the opportunity to discuss this in various meetings in Davos this week. I will try to meet with President Trump again on Wednesday. I had a long telephone conversation with him on Thursday. We simply want to try to solve this problem together. The American government knows that we could also respond from our side. I do not want that. But if necessary, we will of course protect our European interests, including our German national interests. If we are confronted with tariffs that we consider unreasonable, we are in a position to respond. That is exactly what we will be discussing in Brussels on Thursday at the EU summit.
France also warned it will act in a coordinated manner if US tariffs are slapped on Europe, suggesting a unified EU response rather than isolated reactions. On January 18th, Macron's office threatened to invoke the EU's so-called trade bazooka against the United States, raising the stakes of economic retaliation. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer also said Trump's threats could provoke a tariff war with Europe, warning that allies should not be treated like adversaries.